If one could reach the level above, reaching the peak, or if a 5th-level cultivation nation advanced to the 6th level, then they would be able to easily extract the life soul of a cultivator from their own nation and leave the current cultivation star without any hesitation. The life soul of Yunzi could not be successfully extracted. In fact, for the past several thousand years, no one, including the immortal remnant clan on Vermilion Birdstar, had been able to extract their life soul. The fundamental reason for this was closely related to the sealing of the star cultivation crystal by Xun'er. The sealed star cultivation crystal prevented Vermilion Bird Patriarch from using it to control Vermilion Birdstar, but it also severed any possibility of extracting life souls during the reaching the peak phase. On some powerful cultivation stars, even at the 7th and 8th levels, in addition to the opportunity to reclaim life souls during reaching the peak, some large sects, so massive that they could rival a 6th-level cultivation star, had their own unique methods to circumvent the star cultivation crystal's restrictions. If this were not the case, the entire cultivation alliance would be free of wars and conflicts. At this moment, in the distant starry sky, there was a huge planet. From the stars above, countless sword radiances flashed and flew. They were not engaged in battle but were simply on their way. This cultivation star was enormous. It was nearly dozens of times the size of Vermilion Birdstar, and its mortal population far surpassed that of Vermilion Birdstar. Naturally, there were also many more cultivators. Around this giant cultivation star, there were 5 smaller planets, each orbiting the main planet. These planets also housed numerous cultivators. Further out, there were even smaller planets, scattered around, each protected by massive formations. The largest planet was Destiny Star. The 5 smaller planets surrounding it were satellites of the 7th-level cultivation star Destiny Star. As for the even smaller planets, they were star domains created by powerful, ancient cultivators. Without an invitation from the owner, outsiders were forbidden from entering. Compared to this, Vermilion Birdstar seemed insignificant, almost too small. On Destiny Star, there were many sects, but the most prominent among them was naturally the Tion Yunzi sect. The Tion Yunzi sect emphasized that everything in the world, all fate and destiny, were predestined and cannot be forced or avoided. This principle imparted a sense of celestial detachment. The person who established this doctrine was revered by nearly all the cultivators on Destiny Star. His name was Tion Yunzi. At this moment, within Tion Yunzi's sect, Tion Yunzi opened his eyes from meditation. With a kind face and white hair flowing about him, he did not appear old but instead exuded an ethereal aura. His eyes were even brighter than those of some younger men. There was no trace of death in his presence, only a vast vitality. He was in the Fortune Immortal Pavilion, and as his eyes gleamed with an unusual light, he murmured to himself, "Years ago, when I visited an old friend, I passed by a half-abandoned cultivation star and met a child. This child, upon reaching the spirit transformation stage, realized the meaning of reincarnation and death. He actually sought to trace the source of reincarnation. Few can achieve such a thing. Moved by his effort, I decided to guide him and took him as a 100-year honorary disciple. Today, I have a strange feeling. This child is likely to come soon. I wonder what cultivation level he is at now. If he has not reached the late spirit transformation stage, even if he comes, it will only disappoint me." Tion Yunzi pondered for a moment, shook his head slightly, and closed his eyes again. Inside the Vermilion Bird Tomb, Wang Lin slowed his pace, keeping his divine sense contained. There were many life soul creatures here, some of which were troublesome for Wang Lin to handle. Without using the billion soul banner, he could not cope with them. Moving cautiously, Wang Lin sped along, immediately changing direction to avoid danger whenever he sensed a threat. This slowed his journey significantly. One day, Wang Lin found himself facing 2 towering mountains. Between them was a narrow path winding into the distance, seemingly endless. Surrounding these mountains were dense forests and ravines. Wang Lin stood under the mountain, contemplating for a moment, his eyes flickering. He had been traveling inside the Vermilion Bird Tomb for several days, and through observation, he realized that following this path would likely lead him to the center. However, the deeper he went, the more life soul creatures appeared, many of them far stronger than Wang Lin, far beyond his ability to confront. After thinking for a moment, Wang Lin moved forward, stepping cautiously onto the winding path between the 2 peaks. With each step, his mind remained alert, constantly scanning his surroundings. Life soul creatures could take any form, and even the slightest mistake could result in an attack. As he walked down the path, Wang Lin glanced at the mountain walls on either side. They were damp and smooth, with water droplets trickling down in some places. After traveling several dozen paces, Wang Lin suddenly changed his expression, realizing something was wrong. He looked closely at the mountain walls, his eyes flickering. If this place has been damp for years, there should be moss-like plants growing here. After all, the Vermilion bird tomb seems no different from the outside world. But now, this dampness feels as if it has only just appeared. Wang Lin's right index finger flashed like lightning as it tapped the nearby rock wall. As the spiritual light flickered, the finger immediately penetrated 3 inches into the rock, creating a small hole about a foot deep. At the half-inch mark inside the hole, the area was damp, but the further half-inch behind was dry. Without any hesitation, Wang Lin swiftly retreated. In the next instant, as his body moved away from the winding path, all the damp water stains in the rock walls beneath the 2 mountain peaks bizarrely seeped out, forming glistening water droplets that seemed like crystals, floating in midair along the winding path. The droplets were densely packed, numbering at least several 100,000, and each one represented a life soul. Suddenly, the droplets began to stir, merging together to form a humanoid figure. The figure moved eerily, gradually solidifying, until it turned into a woman. The woman's appearance was ordinary, but there was a strange aura surrounding her. After she materialized, she coldly stared at Wang Lin and slowly said, "You cannot go in." Wang Lin stepped back slowly. If there was one type of life soul he least wanted to deal with, it was a spiritual entity made of water life soul. This type of entity was the hardest to deal with among all spirits. Although the spirit in front of him only had the strength of the spirit transformation stage, it was still difficult to handle. Water existed between heaven and earth. It could be divided and scattered, and even when sealed or imprisoned, it was hard to fully contain. Several days ago, Wang Lin had encountered a water spirit and had found it extremely difficult to deal with, ultimately having to give up and take a detour. So, upon sensing the presence of water life soul here, Wang Lin immediately retreated. While retreating, Wang Lin's divine sense swept towards the deeper part of the valley. Earlier, he had been cautious not to cause unnecessary trouble and had refrained from spreading his divine sense too far. But now, since the water life soul had already revealed itself, he immediately expanded his divine sense. His expression changed when he detected something. In the depths, he saw a familiar person. This person was engaged in a magical battle with a rather powerful water life soul entity. Between the two, the human seemed to have the upper hand. However, upon seeing the water life soul entity fighting this person, Wang Lin felt an inexplicable sensation as if his mind were somehow connected to it. The feeling wasn't deep, but it was clear. Wang Lin's heart stirred, and as he retreated, the woman made of water life soul immediately turned into droplets and rushed towards the deeper part of the valley. Wang Lin stood outside the valley, pondering for a moment. That's odd. Why do I feel that strange sensation from the water life soul entity deeper in the valley? I'm not a water spirit root, and my life soul shouldn't be water life soul. This is truly bizarre. His brow furrowed as he wandered outside the valley. He was about to leave when suddenly, his expression changed, and he abruptly turned around. In that instant, a sharp pain pierced his heart, as if a life soul deep in the valley was sending out weak calls to him. Xun'er. Wang Lin's expression shook, and he understood. Xun'er was inside the heavenly reversal pearl, which resided within Wang Lin's brow center and divine sense. This connection allowed him to sense Xun'er's life soul. Wang Lin's eyes flashed with cold light. This time, he did not hesitate. His body moved like a rainbow streak as he shot towards the valley's depths. As his body rushed into the valley, the water life soul entity that had transformed into a woman immediately revealed herself and blocked Wang Lin's path. She raised her right hand and slapped forward. Instantly, a large amount of mist spread throughout the winding path. Wang Lin's gaze turned cold. Without a word, he swept his right hand across his storage pouch and pulled out the immortal sword. He hurled it forward, roaring as his left hand pressed to his brow. In that instant, Wang Lin's physical body froze, and he closed his eyes. His divine sense, flashing out from his head, transformed into a giant spiritual entity nearly 10 zhang tall. Moving faster than lightning, it caught up to the thrown immortal sword in a flash and shot off with incredible speed. In the blink of an eye, Wang Lin's divine sense dove straight into the water life soul entity's body, while the immortal sword pierced through her chest. The woman let out a miserable cry as her entire life soul instantly shattered, scattering in all directions. However, Wang Lin's divine sense had already entered her body. As her life soul scattered, his divine sense split into 2, then 4, then 8, and so on, rapidly multiplying and diving into every droplet of life soul. At the same time, a low shout emanated from Wang Lin's divine sense. Seal. Immediately, restriction seals spread throughout Wang Lin's divine sense, and within moments, all the droplets of water life soul were sealed. Having completed this, he shot out from the droplets, swiftly entering the physical body that had been thrown forward by inertia. Not long after Wang Lin left, the sealed water particles immediately emitted a series of explosive sounds. All the droplets instantly transformed into mist, which coalesced together and unexpectedly took the shape of the woman's figure once again. The seal, for the water life soul, could only temporarily restrain it, unable to fully seal it off. The woman's eyes flashed with a fierce light. Her body moved, and once again, she turned into a mist, chasing toward the depths of the valley. Wang Lin's speed was incredibly fast. In a few flashes, he arrived at the deepest part of the valley. There, he saw a hunchbacked elder, mostly naked, with a grim expression on his face. In front of him, countless flashing runes circled, forming a massive circle. Inside, a water mass made up of water life souls was bubbling and swirling as if boiling. Above the elder's brow, an 8-leaf plant stretched out in an eerie manner, its powerful rune energy radiating aggressively. I can't kill you, but I can refine your life souls. You'll need time to reassemble them, and by then, you won't have time to pursue me, the hunchbacked elder sneered. This elder was the one who had chased Wang Lin into the space rift in the land of immortal remnants many years ago. He had later communicated with his ancestors using ancestral runes and was rescued by his clan. His deep hatred for Wang Lin had driven him to slaughter during the immortal remnant clan's resurrection, causing the most deaths among all the 8-leaf curse mages. Wang Lin's appearance startled the elder. He had been engaged in a battle with the water life soul spirit, and had to focus all his attention on it to avoid losing. Moreover, Wang Lin's cultivation had vastly improved since then, reaching the early infant metamorphosis stage. Thus, the elder hadn't noticed Wang Lin's presence. It's you. The elder's eyes flashed coldly when he saw Wang Lin, and he immediately burst into maniacal laughter, looking to the sky. He reached out with his right hand, and a rune shot out from the water-encompassing life soul, turning into a streak of dark light, rushing toward Wang Lin. Wang Lin snorted coldly. After arriving, he didn't pause for a moment. Almost as soon as the hunchbacked elder noticed him, Wang Lin's figure turned into a blur and suddenly appeared beside the rune circle trapping the water life soul. He raised his immortal sword and swung it down fiercely. With a deafening crash, the rune circle immediately cracked, and the runes shattered one by one. The hunchbacked elder shouted, and his body moved like a rainbow, charging straight at Wang Lin. His large hand pressed forward, and an ancient rune, glowing with an eerie light, appeared in his palm. Wang Lin's gaze flickered. Without saying a word, he reached into the void and grabbed. Immediately, the billion soul banner appeared in his hand. The 3-zhang banner exuded a sense of awe before even entering battle. The hunchbacked elder's momentum faltered. His heart shook. The appearance of this banner seemed familiar, causing him to feel a wave of dread. Wang Lin shook the soul banner in his hand, and a wailing sound like the cries of ghosts echoed from it. Souls, one by one, surged out, especially a purple-golden Qilin, which let out a roar that shook the heavens and pierced the earth. Upon its appearance, it shook its body and lunged toward the hunchbacked elder with a bloodthirsty snarl. Behind the Qilin, over a dozen infant metamorphosis souls followed. At once, the entire valley was enveloped by these souls, all moving toward the hunchbacked elder to devour him. The elder's heart sank. Without hesitation, he immediately began to retreat. If there were only 1 or 2 infant metamorphosis souls, he would be unafraid. After all, they were just souls and could not compare to true cultivators. Even if there were 3 or 5, he could easily retreat, confident that he could match them in battle. But now, the number of infant metamorphosis souls was overwhelming. With his cultivation, he could not fight them, especially the purple-golden Qilin, which posed the greatest threat. Seeing this beast, he felt a deep shock in his heart. Moreover, among the countless ordinary souls, he could sense that many of them carried the aura of the immortal remnant clan. They were likely clan members from the past, refined into souls. As the hunchbacked elder retreated, the woman chasing Wang Lin appeared at the winding path of the valley. Upon seeing the scene inside, her eyes immediately flickered. She transformed into mist and silently rushed toward the hunchbacked elder. Wang Lin had no time to pay attention to the hunchbacked elder. After releasing the billion soul banner, he continuously swung his immortal sword, slashing at the rune circle. Amidst a series of booming sounds, the rune circle that trapped the water life soul began to shatter further. The water life soul artifact inside, originally in a water mass form, immediately transformed back into a human shape, becoming a woman. As Wang Lin saw her, his usually calm heart suddenly jolted. The woman's appearance, vaguely similar to Li Muwan's, struck him deeply. With Wang Lin's final strike, the sword radiance slashed through the rune circle, causing it to collapse. The woman inside let out a soft laugh, and her body turned into a cloud of mist, quickly rushing out. Wang Lin had already been on alert, and he wouldn't let her escape so easily. However, this woman's cultivation was far stronger than the previous water life soul artifact that had blocked his path, almost on par with a cultivator in the mid-infant metamorphosis stage. Coupled with her immortality, even the hunchbacked elder was powerless to stop her, only able to attempt to trap her. As the woman, seemingly resembling Li Muwan, emerged, Wang Lin took a deep breath. His consciousness stirred, and the countless souls around him instantly connected, forming a dense, interconnected mass. Among them, the infant metamorphosis souls, aside from those chasing after the hunchbacked elder, gathered here. A strong pressure immediately enveloped the surroundings. The woman remained unperturbed, her gaze sweeping over the area before settling on Wang Lin, and she smiled softly, saying, "You've saved me, yet now you want to trap me. What are your intentions?" Wang Lin's expression turned cold as he calmly responded, "Do you want to live or die?" The woman laughed, her voice soft and playful. "Here, no one can kill me. Even if you trap me, it will only take time for me to escape." A cold glint flashed in Wang Lin's eyes. He softly uttered, "Soul Banner, merge." As the word left his lips, the countless souls around him instantly merged with incredible speed, heading toward the primary soul. In the blink of an eye, the surrounding souls dissipated, leaving only 6 primary souls, each emitting an aura far beyond that of a late infant metamorphosis cultivator, though not yet reaching the peak. These 6 primary souls surrounded the woman, their eyes cold and gleaming with a chilling light. "Annihilate," Wang Lin hissed. With his command, the 6 fused primary souls moved, each unleashing their magical powers and techniques, launching an attack on the woman. In response, the woman let out a playful laugh. Her body swayed and turned into a mist, scattering in all directions with a loud bang. Wang Lin had been waiting for this moment. Only when her body transformed into water particles or mist could he find Li Muwan's life soul within her. However, just as Wang Lin and the 6 primary souls lunged toward her, the entire valley suddenly trembled, the shaking coming from the very ground beneath them. It wasn't just here, the entire Vermilion bird tomb, both inside and out, all the mountains were shaking. This was the tremor of the entire Vermilion bird tomb. As the tremor intensified, a cracking sound echoed from the sky, as if countless giant hands were tearing the heavens apart. Immediately, spatial rifts began to violently tear open, with cold winds howling out from within, freezing everything in their path. These rifts were unlike those in the outer world, where as long as one's cultivation was at a certain level, they wouldn't die upon entering. Here, it was different. The rifts were not mere spatial tiers but dimensional rifts, formed from the strange power of the star cultivation crystal. Even a cultivator in the infant metamorphosis stage would be instantly destroyed if they entered. There were no exceptions. As the star cultivation core shattered and the star cultivation crystal collapsed, the destruction began. The ground of the entire Vermilion bird tomb cracked, collapsing in every direction. Countless cultivators who had entered perished, and even many life soul artifacts had no choice but to die in the face of this overwhelming calamity. The entire Vermilion bird tomb was instantly engulfed in a dense aura of death. The valley where Wang Lin stood was no exception. The earth shattered into nothingness, and numerous dimensional rifts appeared, voraciously devouring everything around them. Wang Lin immediately summoned the Soul Banner, drawing all the souls back and quickly fleeing. As for the hunchbacked elder's life or death, Wang Lin no longer had time to care. His gaze remained fixed on the woman, who appeared to resemble Li Muwan. At this moment, the woman's expression was dazed, and an unprecedented fear filled her eyes. Her body was slowly collapsing. Finally, with a loud crash, her entire form shattered into countless water droplets, each one rapidly disintegrating into pieces. This was true death. Wang Lin's figure flickered like lightning as he passed through one dimensional rift after another, traveling at an incredibly fast speed. He arrived at the front of a vast collapse of water droplets, and with a swift grab of his right hand, he caught a crystal-clear water particle. The moment his fingers touched the particle, he felt as if he was touching Li Muwan. Cold sweat beaded on Wang Lin's forehead. As he continued moving through the rifts, he finally emerged from the valley. The tremors lasted only 10 breaths. After those 10 breaths, the entire Vermilion bird tomb had changed beyond recognition. Countless dimensional rifts appeared on the ground and in the sky, with many places now on the brink of collapse. Any force of spiritual energy could bring about further destruction, and anyone within these rifts would instantly perish. The danger within the Vermilion bird tomb had increased dramatically. The collapse of the star cultivation crystal did not happen all at once. It was a gradual disintegration, all of which had been intentionally orchestrated by the Vermilion bird patriarch. This was his madness before death, a game he played with Yunzi just before his demise. After the tremors ceased, the valley where Wang Lin stood had been leveled, with everything vanishing as if the previous scene had been nothing but a dream. A gentle breeze blew across, drying the cold sweat from Wang Lin's forehead. A chill surged from his heart. He lowered his gaze and saw the ground beneath him, now resembling a wasteland, where arc-shaped cracks appeared and disappeared sporadically. Holding Li Muwan's life soul in his hand, Wang Lin pressed it against his forehead and infused it into the heavenly reverse space. Taking a deep breath, he moved and slowly flew into the distance. As he flew, Wang Lin's eyes suddenly flashed, and he looked toward a partially collapsed mountain range in the distance. There, on a pile of rubble, was a hunched old man, his body reduced to half, lying there with dim, lifeless eyes. A feeble nascent soul struggled to escape from his body. During the previous 10 breaths of chaos, a sudden dimensional rift had caused the old man not only to lose half his physical body but also his ruined nascent soul. As soon as Wang Lin's gaze swept across, the old man's nascent soul immediately noticed, and a look of panic crossed his face. In a flash, it fully separated from his body and began to flee. Wang Lin's eyes flashed coldly, and he sneered. He immediately gave chase. The old man's nascent soul was weak at this point, and as it fled, an eerie light flashed ahead, and a curved rift silently appeared in its path. The old man let out a miserable cry, trying to retreat, but it was too late. His entire nascent soul was immediately devoured by the sudden dimensional rift. As the rift disappeared, the old man's nascent soul vanished without a trace. Wang Lin stopped in his tracks, remaining silent for a moment. He then looked into the distance. The Vermilion bird tomb had become far more dangerous after the collapse. A slight misstep could lead to death here, and Wang Lin hesitated for a moment. After a short while, he sighed lightly, and his body moved again as he flew into the distance. Vermilion bird star, Demonic Sea. The Demonic Sea was one of the first places attacked by the Immortal Remnant clan, as it was located near their domain. After the fog that had lingered here for millennia finally dissipated, the natural barrier was gone. With the combined attacks of other cultivation nations, the sea was left in ruins and unable to resist the Immortal Remnant clan's invasion. In the end, it was forced to become a vassal. At the outer edge of the shattered star zone within the Demonic Sea, a figure stood. The person was cloaked in a suffocating aura, making their features hard to distinguish. Around them, countless skeletal phantoms flickered, endless and eerie, resembling a forest of skeletons. He gazed at the shattered star zone, his eyes filled with hesitation. That sliver of heavenly tribulation back then wasn't summoned by an ancient cultivator. It was just a junior refining an ancient artifact. In these past few hundred years, I've traveled across Vermilion Birdstar and haven't found a single ancient cultivator. My stomach is getting a little hungry. Only here can I smell the scent of ancient cultivators. Unfortunately, this place is too dangerous. Should I go or not? He pondered for a moment, his gaze flickering. He then muttered to himself, forget it, I can't risk my life just for a meal. My injuries have been healing over the years. It's time to leave Vermilion Birdstar. If Xun'er finds me in my current state, I'll definitely be no match for him. His eyes flashed with cold light, and he muttered, I wonder how my old friend, Sword Sovereignling Tion Ho, is doing on Tion Yunzi. Perhaps I can pay him a visit and ask for his help in dealing with Xun'er to find out the whereabouts of that mysterious pearl. At that moment, his eyes suddenly flashed, and he gazed into the distance, speaking calmly, you always like to hide your identity, broken army. Long time no see. A hoarse laugh echoed from the void, and the sky instantly darkened. A vast expanse of seawater appeared in the sky, roaring toward him with a tremendous force. On top of the waves, a man in a blue robe walked forward, each step causing the waves to part. The robe was adorned with intricate golden thread patterns, appearing extraordinarily mystical. Greedy wolf. Could it be that you're also eyeing this place? The man looked ordinary, but there was a fierce gleam flashing in his eyes. The figure cloaked in deathly aura snorted lightly and said, "I get annoyed just seeing you. Since you like this place so much, go ahead and stay. I'll leave." With that, his body swayed and disappeared, transforming into a black streak of light that tore through the sky, vanishing out of sight. The man above the sea gazed thoughtfully, his body shifted, and he landed outside the shattered star zone. The sea beneath his feet immediately condensed into a deep blue crystal, which he swallowed after landing. Strange, greedy wolf never stays in places without treasure. Wherever he goes, there's bound to be something extraordinary. When I came to Vermilion Bird Star 10,000 years ago, he had already been here, though it was said he stayed for healing, but that still raises suspicion. Could it really be for this place? The man pondered for a moment before moving into the shattered star zone. Deep within the ancient god ruins, in the sea of blood, on the only massive stone spike, a man with blood-red disheveled hair suddenly lifted his head, revealing a terrifying murderous gleam in his eyes, especially his blood-red pupils, which caused all beings to feel a chill. A cruel smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. Another one has come. The day I, Tua Sin, break free is drawing near, very near. Wang Lin, my memory inheritance, you must preserve it well, and wait for me to collect it. Without my power inheritance, your memory is useless. Moreover, your memory inheritance isn't complete. There's still a memory inheritance crystal, and it's now in my hands. All these years, I've searched the entire ancient god ruins, paying a great price, and finally found the last hidden memory inheritance crystal. After merging with it, I remembered many things. For all these years, I've often felt a strange power growing deep inside this planet, similar to the growth of my ancient god clan's young. This power, as you cultivators call it, is the star cultivation crystal. Through this, the flaw in my seal will appear, allowing me to use the soul exchange art to leave this place. I owe all this to 2C. He chose to split his consciousness here, which made the locals revere him as a deity. This event is recorded in the final memory inheritance crystal, and I also know that 2C responded to them, asking them to create the ancient god's sacrificial site. Although countless millennia have passed and those natives have long been extinct, the immortal remnant clan hides deep underground, where the last ancient god's sacrificial site of those natives remains. There, I can exert a bit of my divine power. At that place, a young member of the immortal remnant clan has been in deep slumber for years. To obtain the star cultivation crystal, I paid a great price and secretly helped the young member of that wild tribe grow from 11 leaves to 12 leaves, enabling their entire clan to break through the seal and enter the realm of cultivators. Everything is progressing according to my plan. The place where the star cultivation crystal was stored has finally opened. Wang Lin, my envoy has met you again. You've changed a lot, but how could I, Tua Sin, ever forget you? Your appearance, your divine sense, have been deeply etched into my heart. Wherever you run, I can find you. Tua Sin laughed wildly, and his laughter spread throughout the sea of blood, causing the waves to surge violently. His eyes shone with a red light, even more intense than the sea of blood itself. Wang Lin, the day I, Tua Sin, break free is near. Once I swallow your inheritance, I will be an ancient god, an 8-star ancient god. At that time, who in this starry sky will be my match? As Tua Sin's mad laughter echoed, the sea of blood stirred, and 2 small monkeys emerged from the water. With a leap, they landed beside Tua Senator. The monkey's eyes glowed with an eerie red light. At this moment, inside the Vermilion bird tomb, the elder who had left behind a sinister smile now glowed with red light in his eyes. A small monkey was perched on his shoulder, its eyes glowing even more fiercely. The little monkey screeched, and the elder's red light dimmed. He turned and looked into the distance, and upon seeing something, the red light in his eyes flared up again. He's here. The elder's body shifted as he was about to step forward, but at that moment, the little monkey on his shoulder growled lowly. The elder paused for a moment, fell silent, then turned and left. His target was the center of the Vermilion bird tomb. As the elder moved swiftly, the little monkey turned its head to look behind, its eyes flickering with red light. The elder moved incredibly fast, avoiding the dimensional rifts that appeared before him, as though he could anticipate them, slipping through them effortlessly. His speed was great, yet no danger hindered him. Not long after the elder left, a streak of light cut through the sky, and Wang Lin furrowed his brow, looking at the direction where the elder disappeared, a thoughtful look in his eyes. 2 days later, as Wang Lin flew through the air, he leaped over areas that had been reduced to nothingness. Ahead of him lay a vast expanse of basins, each filled with streams of broken golden energy that shot into the sky like sword radiances. He scanned with his divine sense, and saw that there were countless basins, numbering in the tens of thousands, densely packed together in a sprawling mass that seemed to have no end. In each basin stood a long sword deeply embedded in the ground. Although only half of the sword was visible, its sword radiance was incredibly sharp. As Wang Lin entered, he could clearly sense the chilling sword intent. Golden life soul. Wang Lin muttered silently. His time inside the Vermilion bird tomb had been long, and everything he had encountered here was vastly different from what Situ Nan had described. Wang Lin was not slow-witted, and by now, he had formed his own analysis of the situation. I suspect that this Vermilion bird tomb is actually the star cultivation crystal. Though I am physically within the tomb, I am equally within the star cultivation crystal. That's why I encounter so many life soul creatures here. That's why when the star cultivation crystal collapsed, those strange rifts appeared. The fragmentation is the collapse of the star cultivation crystal. Wang Lin's face darkened as he gazed at the endless sea of basins ahead of him. This was merely his hypothesis and analysis, not yet fully confirmed. He needed to go to the center of this place to see if there was a spirit mountain there. If there was, it would mean his guess was wrong, but if there wasn't, then he could be certain that this was indeed the star cultivation crystal. After a moment of contemplation, Wang Lin walked deeper into the basin world. However, after walking only a few dozen paces, a sudden surge of coldness radiated from one of the basins ahead. The sword deeply embedded in the ground there immediately flew up, howling through the air. It was an ordinary sword, about 3 feet long and as thick as 2 fingers, entirely silver, with the tip pointed straight at Wang Lin. It emitted a buzzing sound as it vibrated. Get lost. The sword's resonance carried a domineering spiritual pressure, filled with arrogance. A life soul creature formed from the golden life soul. I never expected it to be similar to a sword spirit. Wang Lin felt the divine sense within the sword and his gaze flickered. Suddenly, his heart stirred. The sword intent emanating from the basin at the center of this place was very similar to the immortal swords he had seen in the immortal realm. With a swift motion, Wang Lin's right hand brushed his storage pouch, and the immortal sword immediately appeared in his grip. As soon as the immortal sword materialized, the arrogant sword before him dimmed, like a firefly under the bright moon. Su Ligua, Wang Lin softly called out. Black mist poured from the immortal sword, and Su Ligua's figure emerged from within the mist. As soon as he appeared, his eyes immediately shifted to the arrogant sword. With a sneer, he said, "Grandson, though your ancestor Su is a latecomer to becoming a sword spirit, you." Before he could finish, the arrogant sword shuddered and, without hesitation, retreated, swiftly flying away into the distance. This scene stunned Su Ligua, but he quickly regained his confidence and roared, "Run! Did your ancestor Su tell you to run?" With that, he moved swiftly, following the immortal sword as he pursued the retreating blade. A sword spirit naturally needs a sword spirit to suppress it. Wang Lin muttered quietly, stepping forward. Su Ligua cleared the path ahead of Wang Lin, and wherever he went, the swords in every basin shot up, retreating the moment they saw Su Ligua. It was a bizarre scene, as though the swords all feared Su Ligua. Wang Lin's eyes flickered as he calmly watched, his steps unhurried as he moved forward. Su Ligua, now immensely excited, roared in joy, his movements erratic as he wielded the immortal sword, zipping through the air, at times shouting loudly. One sword after another was ripped from the ground, howling into the sky, heading toward the central basin. There, they immediately stopped fleeing, floating in midair, exuding intense sword intent and cold radiance. Like a tidal wave breaking through, Wang Lin followed Su Ligua's lead, swiftly flying toward the center of the basins. There weren't many dimensional rifts in this area. Along the way, Wang Lin encountered only 3, indicating that this place, during the first collapse of the star cultivation crystal, was one of the few regions unaffected by the widespread disturbance. The further he went in, the fewer dimensional rifts he encountered. In the end, Wang Lin unleashed his full speed, shooting forward like a meteor toward the vast basin at the center, breaking through the air with his escape. Several hours later, the massive basin at the center came into view, swaying before his eyes. From a distance, countless treasured swords floated in the air above the basin, their ringing sword sounds echoing, sending out a chilling aura. Even before getting close, Wang Lin could already feel the overwhelming sword energy emanating from within. Su Ligua slowed his pace, hesitant to approach, and looked at Wang Lin with a fawning expression. "Master, see? I haven't been slacking off on our journey. I've gathered all the sword souls and brought them here. Now that there's nothing more for me to do, Why not let me return to the immortal sword and wait for you to eliminate these sword souls? I'll come out when it's all over." As he spoke, Su Ligua hurriedly tried to retreat back into the immortal sword. However, just as his body had retreated halfway, Wang Lin grabbed the immortal sword and tossed it forward. Su Ligua, along with the sword, was hurled toward the sea of swords in the basin. With a scream, Su Ligua immediately returned fully into the immortal sword, manipulating it to flash and attempt to escape. "If you can't clear this place for me, you're useless." Wang Lin's cold voice echoed in Su Ligua's heart. He cursed inwardly but didn't dare to flee any longer. Gritting his teeth, he steeled himself and roared, charging with the immortal sword into the dense cluster of swords in the basin. His roar was transmitted through the immortal sword, resounding like thunder, shaking the very heavens. The sound of the sword resonated through the sky, causing the treasure swords on the ground to part and create a path. Within the basin, the deep blue mist suddenly began to swirl and churn violently. At the same time, a crescent-shaped blade slowly flew out from the depths. Wang Lin's eyes revealed a hint of disappointment. The aura he sensed earlier had reminded him of something from the immortal realm, and his first thought was of colossal fortune. Although he suspected it was unlikely, the sensation lingered in his mind. Unfortunately, what appeared before him wasn't colossal fortune, but a crescent blade. Blades and swords had long been equal in name, but while swords held a proud spirit, blades were filled with a wild essence. If it were made of common iron, it wouldn't matter, but once a weapon gained sentience and became something akin to a soul, it would never easily merge with a sword. Not to mention that this blade could make countless sword souls bow before it. This blade was certainly no ordinary object. However, even if this object was extraordinary, it was composed of numerous life souls. As such, it couldn't be taken away easily. Even if one held it, once they left this place and the star cultivation crystal's unique power faded, it would disintegrate into life souls and return to its original source. Wang Lin sighed inwardly and raised his right hand to summon the immortal sword, intending to leave this place. But just as he was about to do so, his gaze suddenly sharpened as he stared at the crescent blade, his eyes flashing with a strange light. Wait, this blade soul isn't composed of numerous life souls. It's made from a single life soul. Wang Lin took a deep breath. Having entered the Vermilion bird tomb and encountered many life soul artifacts, he had seen that these entities were always made from many life souls. Never had he encountered one that was formed from a single life soul, except for this blade soul. As the crescent blade flew out of the basin, all the surrounding treasure swords immediately emitted a sound that resembled their submission, like subjects bowing to an emperor, retreating to make way. Inside the immortal sword, Su Ligua trembled upon seeing the crescent blade. He was naturally timid, and when he saw that all the other sword souls were reacting this way, he hesitated. He wanted to bow before the blade, but was afraid of Wang Lin. His trembling transmitted to the immortal sword, causing it to shiver slightly. The crescent blade flashed with an unimaginable speed, appearing beside the immortal sword with a clear clang. The immortal sword was immediately forced back several yards, though it remained undamaged, perfectly intact. Su Ligua screamed, then immediately directed the immortal sword toward Wang Lin. Wang Lin frowned. He had always known Su Ligua was cowardly, but he hadn't expected him to not even dare fight, instead fleeing immediately. With a wave of his right hand, Wang Lin summoned the immortal sword, which instantly shot toward him and landed in his grasp. At that moment, the crescent blade flashed again, rapidly closing in. Wang Lin immediately retreated, swinging the immortal sword in his hand. The sword's radiance screamed through the air and collided with the crescent blade. With a resounding crash, the crescent blade remained unscathed, emitting an icy chill. At the same time, a divine sense transmitted from within the blade. "Leave, its soul you go." After the divine sense transmitted, the crescent blade flickered and immediately transformed into a massive blade about 10 zhang long. With a downward swing, it unleashed a blade light that seemed capable of splitting the heavens and the earth, crashing toward Wang Lin.